Great to see you guys. And thank you for inviting us in. Tell me a little bit about what the heck this hat is, Dan, because I hear you came up with this.
Me and one of the engineers from Solana did.
Okay.
This is a power law function, and basically it says that as Hxro scales, Solana scales exponentially.
So, tell us about Solana then. I mean, I've heard of it.
Sure.
I've traded the coin.
Sure. All right.
What's going on? I mean, are you guys part of Solana? Is Hxro part of Solana?
Hxro Network, which is a decentralized liquidity protocol, is building on top of the Solana blockchain. And so we ended up choosing Solana mostly because, obviously with trading, as you very well know, it's high transaction. And Solana is built for high transaction, high throughput, 50,000 transactions per second currently, looking to scale to over 100,000. I know it's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
And super low fees and 400 millisecond block times. So
now, you and Rob both have links to the trading community in Chicago, as do I.
Yeah.
So is that where you guys met? Did you meet on the trading floor, or did you meet when you both got involved in DeFi and so forth? How did this happen?
We were at the same proprietary trading firm, and Rob was running agricultural options desk, and I was the chief operating officer there at the time, and we had gotten into crypto when we were there. And
this is about what time frame?
This was 2015 when I first started getting into it, and then thank you. And you know what? Actually, at the time, the optionality was there. Like crypto had, like from 2013, had really kind of rallied. Like Bitcoin, let's just call it. It was all about Bitcoin at the time. Went from like 1,200 and then dropped like 90%. It was down at like, I think it hit a low of like $156 in August of 2015. And I remember looking at it in September, going like, God, well, the worst thing that happens is this goes to zero. This is a very cheap option here on Bitcoin. And like, this was like, now we were just coming out of Brexit, I think, at the time, and it just kind of like, everything started to the whole story started to make sense. Like
it all kind of gelled together, huh?
Correct. And so we ended up, I ended up taking a position in Bitcoin, and next thing you know, it was kind of off to the races from there, and kind of sent me down the rabbit hole.
The rabbit hole.
In the meantime,
red pill, blue pill.
100%. And so Rob was running a desk there. We actually came from come from the same town, and so when we started just talking slowly, and every day I was gonna come by the desk, and we were just talking more and more about crypto. And then finally in 2017, I had left the firm in late 2017, and right after I left, he got in touch with me, and a few months later, we linked back up and started trading together. And while we were there, we conceptualized Hxro, and everything went from there.
Wow. Rob, so you were on the C boat.
Yeah.
Then you moved over to the Board of Trade, into the corn options pit.
Yeah.
Which I think you just told me went from 200 plus traders down to 8 traders in like 5 years.
Yeah, it was really amazing to watch it. I mean, the writing was on the wall starting early, right? I mean, you were at the CBOE during the days when there were single listed products, right? It was the one place the broker had to come into the pit to get real price discovery. And when I moved from the CBOE to the Board of Trade, that still existed, right? I mean, corn options, that was the one place really where the majority of global risk transfer was taking place in the agricultural commodity markets. So going down there at the beginning of 2011, 220 people in this cramped pit. I'm not the biggest guy. The Board of Trade had the big 6'4", 6'6" guys in the pit. I was surrounded by, I think, 4 guys over 6'6". But still, if you were loud and fast, you could participate and really be a liquidity provider there. And by the time I left the floor and went off the floor to run a desk, there were 8 or 9 market makers in the corn options pit, which, it just shows how much of this liquidity and price discovery has moved from in-person market makers to truly space race, electronic trading, where speed and technology is really what makes the pro market maker function.
Well, and what you guys are doing, what really got me excited, so I saw Brenna Hardman, somebody that's working with you guys. I saw her getting off in Chicago at O'Hare, and we talked, and then she said, yeah, I'm working with these guys, they got Hxro, you know, DeFi options. And I said, are you serious? DeFi options? And so tell us about DeFi options. I mean, because talk about something whose time has come. This is a perfect time for you guys to be launching a DeFi, decentralized finance options. So tell us what it is.
You know, the main idea behind Hxro Network is a liquidity protocol where, you know, we build transparent liquidity and in a venue where people can hedge risk, can actually take positions in the market. I mean, I've been in options for years. I believe options are, you know, if not the most, one of the most powerful risk management tools that exists.
Absolutely.
Currently, you know, a lot of options trade, a lot of liquidity in general takes place kind of in dark pools or where it's not fully transparent as to what the market is made of in terms of risk, in terms of liquidity. So Hxro Network, we strive to provide, you know, really transparent liquidity in vanilla options and then other types of options as well with a dual, you know, the idea of an AMM has become extremely popular in crypto with Uniswap and some other decentralized exchange, but you know, we're doing a hybrid AMM and order book model. So we have
So an automated market maker, right?
Correct.
AMM?
Correct.
Has liquidity.
Love that.
But also traditional market makers
So a regular market maker could jump in there and make the
compete
markets
with
as
it
well.
just as much. Yep.
How many different classes do you think you guys are going to list on? I mean, obviously the world is your oyster, but are you going to start off with just like the most liquid, like Apple and some of that stuff, or are you going to go
crypto options?
Oh, okay,
initially.
just crypto.
So
Okay.
call it like Bitcoin, and you know you're minimal up, minimal down from the at the monies, but
Perfect.
But enough that's there to allow traders to actually trade options the way they were supposed to be traded. A lot of what you're seeing in DeFi options right now is a lot of like single strike creation, which is cool in concept, and there's a lot of experimentation around it, but that traditional finance, traditional style of trading, where you're trading an inventory of options, is something that we're really going after. And that's like kind of, the timing is really important for us because you're seeing this wave of traditional finance guys, people coming from centralized exchanges starting to cross over into crypto. We want to give that outlet, something that feels familiar. So it's really, right now it's building the engine, it's building the kernel and the guts of and the plumbing of it for then other, you know, application layer, essentially decentralized exchange to build on top of it.
Well, I'll tell you this, Dan. So every year I go skiing in this big event overseas. It's called Interbourse. We should get you guys to come. But what it is it's about 500 different skiers from around the world. All have to be in one way or another associated or formerly affiliated with an exchange. So Interbourse, and this year it's going to be in Italy, Courmayeur, Italy, and we're going to be all skiing and everything, having a great time. The last 3 years, all of these guys have come up to me and grabbed me and said, okay, so tell me about crypto, because they're market makers, they're traders, and they want to grasp this because they said, this is the closest thing to trading I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know, outside of being on the trading floor, being able to trade crypto options, crypto stock. Oh, Wagyu. Anybody for Wagyu? Wagyu. The cameraman's going for Wagyu. What a shock.
Yeah, let's take a picture.
But honestly, you guys think about that. I'll send you. But,
I want to say
These are clean. 31.
Wagyu. Thank you.
But all of these guys are looking for venues. Like, what should I be doing now? Because there's no more market making. You know, except even what you used to do, Rob, is gone.
Yeah.
You know, there's no more floor market making.
Very consolidated among the top firms, and I mean, as you know, the payment for order flow debate and how how orders are really getting executed, are coming to, like, they're making headlines with Robinhood, with, I mean, you know, with their IPO recently, with the GameStop, with all of those incidents. It's really bringing into, like, you know, the limelight. Where is this liquidity? What is it? What is the functionality? Are customers really benefiting from payment for order flow, from dark pools, or is it helping, is it hurting? And I think it's a very healthy discussion. I think that, you know, there's arguments on both sides, but one of the beautiful things about DeFi is this idea of transparency and this idea of it is innovation in liquidity, and it is bringing liquidity to markets in a way that I think is moving things forward. And clearly there are a lot of things that need to take place in this evolution, but I do believe that more transparency is better for markets in general.
Absolutely.
So, and you know, one of the cores is capital efficiency, which is really what DeFi is about. And you know, I generally just such positive things for markets.
Now, did you guys self-fund, or are you guys funding through a token or anything like that?
We have a token in the ecosystem that has been actively.
And that's the acronym for it?
HXRO. That's it. Yeah. And so largely been funded through that, and you know, I've had a really good mix of just, you know, crypto-focused communities that have become part of the project and have gotten on board and gotten involved with the token side, and then also some larger, more like, I guess in crypto, I always laugh about this, is that in the traditional finance world, you think of institutions as like a sovereign wealth fund or a pension provide value to the network,
right?
And then the value accrual that gets created gets put into the token and then comes back out to the people that hold the token or staking the token to the network, participating in governance, participating in voluntary incentive programs in the network, doing all the things that they can to, you know, and it generates a very positive feedback loop. More liquidity gets created, and that's effectively how we create a market.
What's next for you guys? Are you guys going to be at SALT in New York? That Anthony Scaramucci strategic asset management conference that he does. He always used to do it in Vegas.
Yeah.
This year he's doing it in New York. Are you guys going to be there? Or what, if not there, where are you next going to be?
Okay, so I think next for us actually is Lisbon, Portugal. There's a large Solana conference going on there.
When?
In mid-fall,
November,
beginning of November. So we're going to be there. We'll be active there. Have a few other, mostly you know, this is obviously COVID dependent. If we get onto the gamma variant or not at this point, but no pun intended.
Gamma variant.
You think it's going to happen?
No. And the good news is that the world is coming out of this.
Yes.
And I've been traveling a ton.
Yeah.
I was just over in Croatia and Rome and Germany, and you know, you had to get tested to get back into the U.S. It took me 15 minutes, right? You wait at a tent, they swab your nose. 2 hours later, it's on your phone, and then when you go to the airport 2 days later, you just show them that, and they let you through. So yeah, it was great.
So yeah, we're
And
gonna
I'm vaccinated, so.
Got it. Yeah, as are we. So quite a bit of traveling, you know, is kind of the plan, and really working on just spreading, you know, kind of the Hxro Network message.
Are you seeing more adoption from the U.S. or internationally for Hxro?
We're all international focused right now.
Okay, because if a U.S. person wanted to trade on Hxro, they can't, right?
Not at this time.
Right.
Now, through our legal and through our compliance teams, like very active, working on regulatory strategy and figuring out all of our options around how to, you know, whether that means one day eventually becoming a swap execution facility or an actual, like, getting a full exchange license. These are things that are not off the table, but there's so much unknown around DeFi. And again, like, what you're talking about is just like the plumbing of it, right? Like it's not really an exchange in itself. And so, like, we were talking earlier, Brett Harrison, who's the president of FTX US, was on a trading panel, you know, slightly before you got here, and we talked a lot about that, like just about really what we're building is just the technology layer, that sits underneath it and like the ecosystem that is constructed around it. But ideally, we want to see applications. There'll be other teams that'll come build. We have several teams already that are are going to end up building two
applications into or on top of
their
Hxro.
interfaces on top of Hxro. That then all of that liquidity, it would be like having 10 ECNs all their liquidity just ingressed into one big pool, right? Which in DeFi options, when you think about it, right now volumes in crypto as a whole relative to traditional finance are still like pimple on the ass of elephant, pretty much, right? And so in an options even more so, which obviously is means wide spreads, and it's harder when a larger player wants to come in and do some business. It's harder for them to get that volume off without like basically ripping the face off the market makers. Which when we had this last down move from the Bitcoin highs, saw that happen quite a bit.
Right, we saw liquidation after liquidation.
Which like when you're a market maker, and suddenly you're getting lifted on a bunch of puts, and not even like a big chunk. Like I mean, a moderate size. It feels massive, and like all the gamma vaporizes, and you're suddenly like up Schitt's Creek, right?
Right.
And so a lot of what we're thinking about and what we're solving for, besides margin efficiency, is really the liquidity consistency issue that exists in options as a whole, like in this space, and then working on ways to aggregate that liquidity into this network, where regardless of where your entry point is, you're still tapping that same liquidity. No, not too much different from like how IBs exist in the traditional finance space, and and all like are plugging into the CME at the end of the day. But,
Cool.
So,
Dan,
John, it's great.
I
man.
wish you a lot of luck, my friend.
you.
I'm sure we'll be talking again.
I appreciate it.
Rob,
John, really
thank
good-
you,
really
man.
good seeing
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
Great.
Loved hearing that. Folks, you should be checking out Hxro and Solana and what these guys are doing, because you'll be hearing a lot about them in the coming weeks and months.
Thanks, John.
Thanks a lot.